Welcome to the very first episode of The Canon, where we dive into the cinematic world of comic books and superheroes. First, I'd like to introduce my partner, Sal.
All right, thanks guys for joining us. We're really excited to get this ball rolling, and we hope you are as excited as we are.
And for today, I'm your host, Terry. So listen, this is a show by regular guys for regular people. We're by no means experts on the subject, just two fellow fans giving our thoughts and opinions, and always doing our best job to bring you the stuff that matters. So with that being said, for the first episode, we want to give our thoughts on all the comic book movies coming up in 2016. So you might notice that Star Wars Rogue One is off the list, but we'll be having an episode on Star Wars coming up soon, and we'll touch on the movie then. Alright, so with that being said, let's get into the list. First movie next month will be February 12th, and that's Deadpool, starring Ryan Reynolds. This is basically a story of a special ops turned mercenary who gains special abilities after an experiment. So Sal, what are your thoughts on this?
All right, well, Deadpool, definitely a long time coming. A lot of the fans of Deadpool are hardcore fans. You know, they love their Deadpool, and I think that Ryan Reynolds is the perfect match for it. I think Ryan Reynolds was always the guy. He was always the smart ass that, you know, can play Deadpool, and I think that they, you know, again, picked the right guy, and I think this movie is going to be the sleeper of 2016. You know, it really shouldn't be. I think it's going to be really good, and I think people expect it to be good, but there's just so many other comic book movies, and there are really big ones coming out, that this movie might just be, you know, a sleeper. But regardless, it's going to be great.
Right, I'm with you. I'm excited for this movie. I think the biggest part for me is the marketing. Just from the very beginning with the test footage that they leaked, got the fans, you know, pushing the studio to make the movie. And then from there you had Deadpool on the bearskin rug, and then you had 12 Days of Deadpool for Christmas. You had the thing where they announced it was rated R when he killed Mario Lopez and all that goofy stuff. I think it's been amazing, and that it's really going to be a blueprint for other studios to use going forward. Secondly, the rated R movie, our first rated R comic book movie. Yeah. And I want to see how it does, you know, because you can't have the kids as much as you want. So I wonder if it's going to make as much money with an adult audience and using adult themes.
Definitely.
All right. So coming up in March, we'll have one of the big daddies bringing two iconic superheroes to the big screen for the first time. And that, of course, is Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Sal, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, this is my baby. This is the one I am so hyped up for. I think it might be everyone's just most anticipated movie. It's been so long in the making. I mean, just from when Superman and Batman, you know, first met in the comics, you know, people want to see this on the big screen. And the only reservation I might have is that maybe it might be too cluttered. But then I go back and think, you know, Zack Snyder and the writers and everyone involved, they know what they're going to be doing. You know, this movie got delayed a whole year, and I don't think they did that for no reason. So I definitely think they know what they're doing. It's going to be fine, and for all you Ben Affleck people that have a problem with him, he's going to do amazing. He really is. I mean, if you look at Daredevil, yes, the movie was not very good, but him as Daredevil, he was, you know, he was brooding, he was dark. He did a great job as Daredevil. Daredevil is not that different from Batman. It's Marvel's Batman. So I think he's going to do great, and you know, I'm just really, really excited for it.
Yeah, I don't think I've talked about how hyped up I am for this movie. I'm really excited. But for me, picking up where you left off, the Ben Affleck thing, this is DC's flagship for their universe. Man of Steel was the first movie, but this is our first movie in that universe, and it has to do well. And so picking Ben Affleck was really controversial. We saw the negative backlash. Since then, with the pictures and the trailer, people have been warming up to him, but it's still interesting to see how he's going to do as Batman, because people do have Daredevil burnt into their heads, whether they liked it or not. And then you have Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman, one of the most iconic female superheroes, and she's not a proven actress. She hasn't done anything that, you know, is too big, so we really have to see what she's going to bring to that role. So for me, I'm excited to see it, of course, but we do have to see the risk that DC's taking by bringing in some of these actors. All right, so coming up 2 months after Batman vs. Superman, we'll have the third installment in the Captain America series with Captain America Civil War. This is going to tell the story of the Avengers fighting each other over the thought that maybe the government should be regulating the Avengers. Now, I'm going to just go ahead into my reaction, because I thought this was a reaction to Batman vs. Superman when I first heard the announcement. Both those movies were on the same date. They played a game of chicken. DC moved theirs. And it seemed like not too long after that, Marvel came out with their little convention and announced, you know what? It's Tony Stark versus Steve Rogers. Yeah. It's going to be a versus movie. And I think they're capitalizing on that whole superhero versus superhero wave that Batman vs. Superman created. Because at the end of Winter Soldier, it really seemed like they were setting up a movie where Cap and Falcon were going to chase Bucky and try to find him. And then it seems like plans all got changed. Yeah. With that being said, I love the trailer. I really love that trailer. I think it was the second best of the year, the way they cut it together, the way the tone was set. But at the same time, the stakes seem low because Thanos is out there. And so whatever happened in this movie doesn't seem as big.
On the contrary, for the trailer, I just wasn't feeling it. I go by my initial reaction for trailers. And this one just didn't hype me up. It really didn't. And it's not the whole DC versus Marvel. I like Batman a lot more than I like any of the Marvel characters. But, I love superhero movies in general. So my bias isn't in this situation. But, they had a good moment in the trailer where, Tony and Steve are like fighting. And then Tony says, I was your friend. I used to be your friend, or whatever he said. But, after that, it just was a dud for me, or before that even too. But I think a lot of people are forgetting that we're going to see a new Spider-Man in this. And Andrew Garfield was, a great Spider-Man. And those movies, I think, can stand alone and be really good by themselves. I think this iteration of Spider-Man is going to be the closest we've seen to the comic books. And even though he might not be there in that movie a ton, we're still going to get to see him. Even at the end of Ant-Man, when they mentioned that someone was crawling on walls, right. You got that excitement when you heard that. So I'm excited for the movie, but right now I'm just kind of not thinking about it.
All right. So coming up exactly 3 weeks after Civil War, on May 27th, we're going to have the next installment in the X-Men series. Following up X-Men Days of Future Past, we'll have X-Men Apocalypse, featuring one of the most notorious villains in the X-Men series. So Sal, you got any thoughts on this one?
Well, this is behind Superman and Batman Dawn of Justice. This is my most anticipated movie of the summer. I love the X-Men movies. I think they're they've been the most consistent in recent past. And Apocalypse, one of the biggest villains in the X-Men universe. So I think Oscar Isaac so far in that trailer, which is amazing. I think it's my favorite trailer of everything that's come out. I love Dawn of Justice. I'll go back to that no matter what. But this X-Men trailer, I find myself watching it on YouTube over and over again. Oscar Isaac's, back to him, the way he just carries himself. You don't see him much in that trailer, but what you do see and what you hear, his lines, the way he gives his lines, you just feel like, oh my God, this guy, how are they going to overcome this thing?
Yeah, I think for me, Apocalypse, I know the big controversy over the photos that were shown of him being purple, and then all the Ivan Ooze jokes and the Purple Rain jokes. I felt like I didn't mind the color change as much, as long as it looked right. I just thought the face and the costume didn't look too well. But of course, seeing that they added the effects and seeing the final product so far, it looks good. And hopefully in theaters, it looks even better. So I like the way they changed it up and went with his look. It makes me feel more like the one I saw in the cartoon series. But for this movie overall, it has a lot to prove. You got a lot of new characters or new actors coming in. A young Jean Grey, a young Cyclops, young Nightcrawler, Quicksilver we saw before, but we like him. But you got to prove to me you got more than Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique has kind of taken over, and I just want to see that they have more than her and that these new actors can hold their own. And then besides that, show me how the timeline makes sense. Because right now, this is in the 80s. We don't have Wolverine. Deadpool's coming out in the same universe. That's present day. Then you got Gambit and all this. So just show me how this connects and show me that the next trilogy coming up is going to be in good hands. Alright, so our one true summer movie on the list is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, coming out on June 3rd. This is a follow-up to 2014's Ninja Turtle movie. Do you got any thoughts on this?
Well, actually, to be honest, I didn't even see the first one. I loved Ninja Turtles. I loved them when I was a kid. They kind of went away for a little while, and then maybe I kind of lost interest and went some other avenues. But the new movie in 2014, it didn't look that great to me. And you know, I was probably doing something else. I was at school, and I just didn't get time to watch it. I never caught up. One thing was Megan Fox. You know, I don't like to hate on people's acting, but I just don't see her as the right fit for this kind of movie. Another problem that might have kind of put this movie in a bad spot was Michael Bay directing it. I just don't see him being the person to direct that movie. So that's kind of what it's set up for. But about this movie, regarding this new one, we have a new director, Dave Green. He's really young. He's only, I think, 32, we said. But his only feature film that he's directed, I believe, is Earth to Echo. I haven't seen that either, but even so, I probably wouldn't base what he did on that movie on what he can do to this movie. But, you know, there is a glimmer of hope with him at the helm, so we'll see.
Yeah, for me, I don't expect much, and just to save you time, don't watch the first Ninja Turtles. It's not that good of a movie. The Turtles look fine, and that's kind of cool, but it's really not a good movie, in my opinion, at least. But for this movie, I'm not really expecting to go see it, but the one thing that gives me interest is Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Those would be two new villains that were popular with the TV show, and they'll be bringing them, so seeing how they look on the TV screen or on the big screen will be interesting. But then you also have Stephen Amell, aka Green Arrow, playing Casey Jones. So I think it'll be fun to see him play a new character, and I think he was a perfect casting. So that's about the only thing about this movie. All right, so on August 5th, we'll get the follow-up to Batman vs. Superman with the Suicide Squad. Sal, how do you feel about this one?
I think everyone is looking forward to this movie. It's never been done before where you have this cast of villains in one movie. I think it's a really, really bold choice for Warner Brothers and DC to have this as their second movie in the slate in the DC universe. But, you know, what can't you be excited for this movie? You have Harley Quinn, who came from, I don't know if most of you know, only came about because of the Batman animated series. So she wasn't in the comics before that, and then here she is, one of the biggest women in comics today. So her on the big screen, Margot Robbie. I said the day I heard that she was gonna be Harley Quinn, I flat out said this is probably the best casting for any DC movie upcoming. I mean, she's gonna be the perfect fit for that. And then Jared Leto, come on, you saw him in that trailer. That trailer is awesome. You know, I'm just so hyped for this movie, and probably maybe even more than Batman and Superman. But that might just because I'm really, really excited. But we'll see. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, a lot of fans I've heard say they might be more excited about this than Batman vs. Superman, which is crazy. But for me, I think this movie, as far as the pressure, is going to depend a lot on the results of Batman vs. Superman. If it does what we think it should do and makes a lot of money, this is icing on the cake. You're going to go from a movie focused on heroes, even though you got Lex and everything, these are two heroes are the main focus. Then you're going to go to a movie focused on villains. So it'll be a different flavor, but a perfect follow-up. But if Batman vs. Superman for some reason flops, then this might be Warner Brothers' last lifeline. This movie will have to hit big in order to save the DCU. Otherwise, the rest of the slate will probably be cleaned out. So that kind of is going to be the dynamic. But then this is our first movie really based on villains, and I'm excited to see how it's going to go. If it's going to make the same amount of money, and if it does, I think you'll see a lot more studios trying to use their villains as main staples. All right, so next up on our list is Gambit, due to come out October 7th. Sal, thoughts?
Well, Gambit, a solo movie for an X-Men. I think Fox knows that the solo movies they've had in the past, they haven't really hit. I mean, Wolverine Origins, we saw Gambit in that, but it wasn't really the Gambit that we all kind of know. I think a lot of us grew up on the animated series, and we kind of know from that. Very popular character with fans. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially with Channing Tatum. He was just in The Hateful Eight, and he's in obviously a lot of comedies. But I think Fox, I think they wouldn't cast him unless they knew he was going to do an okay job. So I think it really comes down to the writing and what the story's going to be. Otherwise, if they can pull it off, it's going to be really good.
Yeah, for me, I feel like this movie's a little bit unnecessary, because for me, X-Men's always been an ensemble cast, team-oriented type deal, and so solo movies for certain X-Men just never made sense to me, because I like seeing them together. But this is Channing Tatum. He's a hot name right now, so they want to give him his own movie. But so we'll see how that works. This movie has had trouble though. The first 2 or 3 directors dropped out or declined, and then they got a director, and he dropped out on October 7th, exactly a year before the movie is supposed to drop. Then they picked up their current director in November. So you pick up a director less than a year before the movie's supposed to come out. I think this movie's going to get pushed back. I don't think it'll make it in 2016. Might have to be pushed into 2017, but I don't think it's going to come out at the same time that it's supposed to. Lastly, I want a Deadpool cameo.
Yeah.
You got Channing Tatum, you got Ryan Reynolds, 2 huge stars. The timeline's not the same, so go ahead and do it as a end credit scene. I want Deadpool in this movie. Fox, make it happen. All right, and lastly, it's going to be Marvel's Doctor Strange, due to come out on November 4th. Sal, any strange thoughts on the Strange movie?
Well, Doctor Strange, again, like Deadpool, a very loyal fan base, very anticipated movie, very anticipated actor, Benedict Cumberbatch. So I think that's going to be great. I think he was obviously the perfect choice. But he did beat out some really great actors that could have had the part. Joaquin Phoenix being 1, and Keanu Reeves being 2. And a lot of people like to give Keanu Reeves some crap just because he takes these weird roles. But this would have been the perfect role for him. Weird, Doctor Strange. But I love Joaquin Phoenix too. But Cumberbatch, I think, second to none. Is going to be great in this, and it's a different kind of movie. I know you were talking about it earlier, but it's just different from anything that Marvel has done before. So
yeah, just picking up at that point, I like to look at the risk of this movie. So we talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, unknown property, end up doing very well. Doctor Strange is an unknown property, but it also brings with it a world that we haven't explored in the MCU. In the MCU, a lot of magic has been dismissed as science. So Thor telling Avengers, what you call magic, we call science. Hulk, gamma rays cause that. Iron Man built his suit. Captain America had a serum. Like, a lot of stuff is just science. And this is the first actual magic. Like, the director, he's a horror director. So he'll be bringing in a lot of weird, different things that we haven't seen. We'll be going in different dimensions. So I'm interested to see how, the mysticism and all the magic actually will play out with the fans in the MCU, because we haven't seen it before.
yeah.
All right, so before we go, we want to do one of our segments called the Smackdown of the Week. Now that basically just means we point out something or someone we didn't like in this week in the comic book movie world. So for this week, my Smackdown is for Warner Brothers and DC. And it's for that latest trailer for Batman vs. Superman that they released. And I'm not talking about the Comic-Con trailer, that was a good one. And watching that trailer really makes me even more upset that they released this new trailer with Wonder Woman and Doomsday, and it's just too much. Because for me, that first Comic-Con trailer was just the perfect trailer. It set up the tension of Batman and Superman. It was cut right, the tone was right. And then this new one, a lot of people feel it spoiled it. I personally think there's some tricks up their sleeve that we didn't see everything, but a lot of casual fans are going to think it was spoiled. And you can look at the number of views and just tell that the numbers are lower because people have been telling other people, don't see this trailer. So I have to give a Brock Lesnar F5 style smackdown to the folks over at Warner Brothers in DC. Don't let that happen again. All right, and that is going to be our show for today. Thank you for watching. If you want more of the canon, please give us the ammo by clicking the subscribe button below. First, I want to thank my partner Sal. Sal, where can the people find us?
All right, you can follow us on Twitter at The Canon Blog, or you can go on Facebook and like our page, facebook.com/The Canon.
All right, thanks for listening. And once again, if you heard it here, it's canon.